Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Brad Thomson's professional sales presentation. What a privilege to be a part of this System Sanity challenge this week with Mark. Mark, great job over the last couple of days. Some outstanding information, really useful stuff. And personally, I've had some serious challenges. This has not been the System Sanity challenge. This has been the System Sanity challenges. There's definitely a lot of things that I've had to look at, think about, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about putting those things in place going forward. So it's just, as I said, a massive privilege to be a part of this intervention this week. And we're going to be talking about sales today. A couple of things to get out of the way as we get going. And so the first one is I'd like you all to tune your receivers to South African. This noise that is coming out of my face right now is actually English, but the accent is South African. And so you might need to just readjust your receivers a little bit to make sure that you understand everything. I'm going to ask you to turn down your sensitivity meters as well. So I'm still getting used to having Americans and folks from different countries on the line. And as a South African, I'm going to say certain things. And there might be certain things that I say that you might find are offensive. I'm going to ask you, number one, just to turn your sensitivity meters down with regards to that, because there's one of two options. Number one is I've said something in South African that is acceptable in South Africa that might be a bit offensive to you. But if your sensitivity meters turn down and you view it through that lens, then you'll be less offended. The second option is I might actually be trying to offend you, in which case turn down your sensitivity meters and see what it is that you need to learn out of the statement that I've made that has offended you. So, it wasn't really a huge offense on Thursday when Mark said that free software is never free, but it was a wake-up moment. And very often wake-up moments need some kind of a jar, need some kind of an offense to get people to think about them. And so, yeah, let's keep our sensitivity meters down and keep our learning meters switched up really high. A little bit about me as we go forward. Wait a moment, that's not me, that's me. My name is Brad Thomson, and I am currently 56 years old. You can see when I made this slide. Born in South Africa, 1966. I've been married for 32 years, and I'm happy to say that I've been married for 32 years to the same lady, my beautiful wife, Maria. And it's just been a wonderful journey to walk alongside her. I have one son and one daughter-in-law, and as I speak to you, they are in an aeroplane somewhere heading up into Doha en route to Seattle. We'll be picking them up tomorrow, and be good to see them. My background is training in teaching and human resources. And the interesting thing is that while I was trained to be a school teacher, I've never actually taught at school. I've done a couple of substitute classes, and I've done a lot of public speaking at school and to school students, but I never actually took up a vocation as a teacher. And there were a couple of reasons for that, not the least of which was the transition in South Africa, moving from the apartheid regime into the democracy that we currently enjoy. And I was in that transition at some point with my degree, and it just didn't make sense moving forward. I say this because I went into business as a salesperson, and within 18 months, I was teaching sales and I was training sales. So trained as a school teacher, but have been in adult education and adult teaching now for the better part of 30 years. In my experience, just one of those things. The human resources training was when I discovered, as much as I enjoyed sales, there was one thing that I enjoyed more than selling, and that was developing people. I am absolutely passionate about seeing someone learn something new, someone apply something new, and as a result of that, get a breakthrough in a particular area of life. And so specifically with regards to sales, specifically with regards to entrepreneurs, which is really one of the central connectors that Mark and I operate around. I love entrepreneurs. I love folk who have started small businesses that have grown into big businesses. I love people who are trying new things. And maybe it's because I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur myself, but so often we have these brilliant ideas, we put them into a business, and the things that we need to learn around sales, around systems that Mark was talking about, that we're not always planned for those before going into business. And so I often end up with small business owners who are looking at their life savings and their investments and their brilliant ideas, and are looking at losing it all because there are not enough sales coming in. And I believe that part of that has got to do with training and understanding the things that need to happen. I hope to bring some of that then people will apply to their businesses and resurrect them and move them from small businesses to medium to big businesses, get their revenues going in the right direction so that they can enjoy the fruits of their labor. And man, there is a vicarious happiness that I get out of that is very, very difficult to actually articulate and put into words. And so I'm just mentioning that there. With regards to selling, I've been selling and making money from selling since I was around about 13 or 14. Now, I was born into a really excellent family, great mum and dad, lovely sister, a really good unit. We just didn't have a lot of money. And so I was faced with the option of, if I wanted cash, to either go into crime or sales. Now, I know for a lot of people, those two are synonymous. A lot of people view sales as crime, but I just realized at a young age that people saw different values in items. So I remember a big breakthrough for me was buying a bicycle from a friend of mine for $60 and selling it on 2 weeks later to somebody else for $100 and making 40 off the top. And the first friend was really offended at me and said, if you saw that value, why didn't you give it to me? And I said to him, the reality is it's got nothing to do with what I saw in it. It's what you saw in it. You saw $60. I saw $100 and I profited off that. Now, it's just interesting. I hadn't been on any business courses. I only took business in my final year at school. But there was an understanding there that I could profit off the value of an item. And so I got into selling all kinds of things at a very young age just to make some cash. Because I never got pocket money and things like that. As I said, great family. There's no regrets and no broken noses, but I learned to sell very, very young. My wife and I moved to Seattle in April 2018. So quite literally, we've been here for 4 years. My wife is working with Microsoft, and she got an opportunity to come to head office. And so I came along and brought myself and my sales training business with me, and that's how we get together today. In the course of my career, I have run a couple of my own businesses. One of them was a furniture company, and so I sold furniture. I had the privilege of buying this company and literally 10xing the sales of this business in 60 days after buying it. And we were so successful with sales that we probably needed Mark Roddy and his systems training thereafter, because we had such incredible turnover that we were struggling to get product out after that. And we subsequently had to look at all other ways of making that happen. Systems would have been a very, very helpful course to have done. Started my career off in terms of the actual corporate side of things in an insurance company and a wealth creation company. And the reason why I mention these two things is not just to let you know what I've done, but it's to let you have get an understanding about the philosophy of sales. You see, furniture you can see, you can touch, you can have a look at the colors, you can sit on it, you can move chairs around it. There's a physical product. Insurance and wealth creation, you can't see, you can't touch. You can look at some facts and figures, but ultimately you're selling an intangible product. And I'm just wanting to let you know that I've done both of those things. I've sold tangible and intangible stuff. And then to add another color to this discussion, I have sold human beings. Now, what I mean by that is, I ran a recruitment consultancy. So training human resources, I found people for jobs and jobs for people. And so I have sold tangible products. I've sold intangible products. I've then sold a product that has a heart and a mind of its own. And what I mean by that is that I could find a job for someone at the salary that they were hoping for, a job that they told me was their dream job, only to have them not turn up on the day that they agreed to turn up with a client. And so I now had to find more people, I had to pay back commissions, all that kind of stuff. Working with a product that has a heart and a mind of its own poses a whole set of other sales issues and sales challenges. But sales philosophy and sales principles apply right across those, irrespective of the industry that you're in. And that's what I'm hoping to share with you today. We'll unpack that in a couple of minutes. I then also sold IT. And it was what is known as SCADA systems, SCADA, which stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. The reason why I put this in there is because, number one, the numbers were literally telephone numbers. We were selling products worth tens of millions of US dollars in the United States. But for people who actually know me, will find this just very, very funny, because I barely know how to use my cell phone, let alone involved IT systems. And once again, I'm just saying this to highlight the fact that if we understand sales philosophy, sales psychology, and sales principles, it doesn't matter what you're trying to sell. They do actually work. And so maybe for a moment you're sitting here going, hold on, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a small business owner. Why on earth has Mark given us this opportunity to sit and listen to someone in sales? And I'm hoping that that will become a little bit more evident in the next couple of slides. But I've got to tell you, man, if you are a business owner, then you're in sales. I can't find a simpler way to state it, or a more impactful way to state it. You are in sales if you are a business owner. And I'll unpack that a little bit more going on. For a lot of you, you might feel like you've just been hit in the head with a baseball bat and go, no, I'm a computer programmer, or I'm a dentist, I'm a lawyer, or whatever it might be. Folks, your business with no sales is just an idea. Your business, your design, your desire without sales is just an idea. And in my presentations, I used to say that a business without sales is just a good idea, but I've taken the good out because it's not a good idea. A business without sales is a really bad idea. But without the turnover, our business is closed. And Mark alluded to that in his presentation a couple of times. I think the last bunch of stats that I looked at said that 80% of businesses that open up, new businesses, new LLCs that open up are going to close within 2 to 3 years. 1 out of every 100 businesses that open up is going to see year number 5. And the percentage of businesses that last beyond year number 5 are so small. And so it's a real beast that we are dealing with. And I would like to suggest that it's when we are not getting the revenues and we're not getting the sales that we lose our business, irrespective of what you call yourself in terms of the work that you do. And so welcome to sales. It's also worth mentioning that one of my mentors is Brian Tracy, and he says that if you are sucking in air every couple of seconds, in other words, if you're a human being and you're alive, you're in sales. And that's another rabbit trail that we can go down. We are all trying to sell something to somebody at some point. And even folks sitting on this call right now who do not really get excited by the term or being viewed as being salespeople, you are going to use all of your natural creativity and your natural genius and your natural energy to try and sell me the idea that you're not actually a salesperson. So I'll leave you to go and think about that for a couple of minutes. Just a little bit more about me. I've worked quite a lot in Africa, obviously spent 50 years of my life in South Africa, did a lot of work there, but also did consultation up into Nigeria, into Kenya, Ethiopia, Mozambique, got to work with some folk in Mauritius, specifically in the tourist trade, and that was beautiful. It was a nice contract to have. And then obviously in the United States, done a lot of work in Seattle, Washington, DC, New York, and then down in Florida. And wherever you are online today, I'm doing business there. So this is super exciting. Good to spend time with you all today. So as we move forward, one of the challenges that I was given was how many people are feeling really tired, and let me just move this up here on my screen. I've got something that's getting in the way. And how do we move from being tired to being hired? So getting into the sales thing right now, getting into the business side of things, we all want to be hired. We want people to use our companies. We want people to use our products. And when we're feeling tired, it's very difficult to get hired. And what is it that is actually holding us back and stopping us? For many people right now, we've got this beautiful Lamborghini that has gone off the road and is had an incredible prang, and it's a wreck. This is a car for Goon Squad to get a hold of and pick up and do a remodel on. But I've used this picture because I just love these super sports cars. But this one has gone off the road and it is a total wreck. And it represents your hopes, your dreams, your desires for your business. For many of you, it might represent your retirement fund. And this is no laughing matter. The number of folk that I've spent time with who have been with a corporate for 20 years and decided, let me take my experience and my retirement fund, let's plug it into a business so that I can make some more money, and then ended up losing everything. Losing the business, but also losing that retirement fund that they had sunk into it. It's just devastating to me. And very often we are ending up hopefully surviving this wreck, but just standing alongside it, looking at this wreck that used to be our hope and our dream, looking at this small business, this business idea that has now gone off the road, is not transporting anybody anywhere, is not looking so good anymore, and just wondering what on earth has just happened. How did this happen? How did we end up here? You know, there's no one that I know, and I really challenge folk about this. I don't think there's anyone who wakes up in the morning and goes, I can't wait to wreck my business today. I can't wait to get up in the morning and be a failure. I just don't think people like that exist. I certainly don't. I've never spoken to anybody who does. And yet the stats suggest that the vast majority of small business owners go through this at some point. I personally, within that furniture business, went through this exact thing. Standing behind the factory one day and just realizing that it was over. Now, there are obviously some twists and turns, and people are going to blame a whole lot of different things on why stuff didn't happen. I didn't lose that business because there was a lack of sales. I had a business partner who had some really creative financial habits, and realized that they had a business that had 10x'd in 60 days, and took the deposits, took the money, and I was left at the back of the factory with nothing. A bunch of orders that I couldn't fulfill and a business that had shut down. And all I'm saying, folks, is I understand. I know the feelings, the devastation, the sense of failure. For many people, it is a trauma that is the equivalent to an actual car wreck or some physical trauma that we go to. And recovery from this is really not that easy. But I say this to encourage you that recovery is 100% possible. And not just recovery, but getting back to where you were before and beginning to pursue those hopes and dreams that were in place when you started your business is totally possible. If I look at where I am now versus where I was when this happened 15 years ago, man, it's chalk and cheese. I didn't enjoy that time, but I got to tell you, what I learned out of it was invaluable. It was the MBA of life, just slapping you in the face, causing tremendous pain and offense. But what you're able to learn from it, you can bounce back with so much stronger. Particularly in this time that we get to chat this morning, one of the biggest issues that is on everybody's lips is this 5-letter powerhouse that has impacted the entire planet, COVID. And for a lot of us, myself included, no one sent out any advertising. No one sent out a pamphlet. At least I didn't get the email or the memo that said a pandemic is coming that's going to turn your business upside down. It's going to turn the way we do business upside down. And it's been very, very difficult to pivot. And a lot of my business is now coming from small business owners and people who are getting in touch with me saying, dude, I have got to get sales up here because COVID has literally shut me down. I can't move. And so, number one, if you are in that place, don't feel alone. Don't feel alone. I'm going to talk you through some ideas. And my desire today is not just to give you a talk about how you can come back from COVID and you can pivot to a place of profit and all that kind of stuff. I actually want to give you something today. The great news is that it's free. I'm going to give you something free that if you take and apply is going to turn your business around so dramatically that you're going to have to hire other people to help you out. And I'm so convinced about this that it has become my soapbox topic. And so I'm going to give that to you today. And the interesting thing is that it's not just about recovery from COVID, but to come out of COVID with a practical, workable solution that will 3, 4, 5, and 10x your business at zero cost, other than a little bit of time, I think is a good deal. So I'll give it to you and you can tell me what you want. So what I've done is I've spoken to a number of the folk that have got in touch with me. I've also had the opportunity to consult into some multinationals, some global companies that are also looking at their sales at this time and try to find out, coming out of sales, what are the 3 main sensations, the 3 main complaints, the 3 main attitudes with regards to specifically sales that people are struggling with. And I'm happy to share this with you now, and you can apply it to your own life and just go, well, is Brad just a South African who's had a little bit too much caffeine this morning, or is there some validity to these discussions that he's had? So the first one is that people are going, I hate sales. I'm not a salesperson. It's one of the most often heard things that I'm getting from salespeople, business owners, anybody in business. I hate sales. I'm not a salesperson. I can see 1 or 2 people nodding as we talk, and so I feel like I am scratching the right itch with this one. The second thing that I'm hearing from people is, Brad, please can you give us the perfect pitch? That pitch that can sell anything to anybody at any time. And once again, it just highlights the fact that people are battling to close. In the process of pivoting, in the midst of sales, in the midst of COVID, where social distancing has been a thing, many people have had to pivot and start doing business online and over Zoom. And you know, I mean, it's been, you know, thank God we've had this technology available. Otherwise, business for many of us would have shut down entirely. But it means that people are having to pitch different. They're having to build relationships different. And the pain of sales has just been highlighted. And so people are going, just give me that silver bullet. Give me that hen's tooth that I can just put out there that is going to sell houses, going to sell cars, going to sell computer systems, going to sell whatever it is that you sell every time. And that's the pain. Anybody interested in what the number one conversation is that I've had over the last 18 months, specifically the last 4 months, the beginning quarter of 2022, the conversation that I've had the most is people going, never in my life has sales been this difficult. People are just going, it is something that came naturally to me for a period of time. Brad, maybe I'm just becoming old. Maybe I'm just, my confidence is down. But sales have never been that difficult. And the reality is, you are 100% right. because the market has pivoted, or because we've been forced in the marketplace to pivot that quickly because of the pandemic, the way we do things has become radically different. And whenever something new is out there, it has become very, very difficult. But specifically for folk who've tried to go online with their product, you suddenly realize that the world of competition has arrived at your doorstep. And when you considered that you were competing against 3 or 4 people in your area, you are now competing with the whole state. You are now competing with the whole country and even the world. As a sales trainer, I know that there are sales trainers in South Africa, throughout Africa, in Europe, in the Far East, in America, that have access to your lounge, have access to your office. It's made my job more difficult. So those are the 3 areas that have come out of, that I've experienced, have come out of the pain that we've been sharing in COVID. I hate sales. Please just give me the perfect pitch. Business has never been this difficult before. So I thought, well, this is very, very interesting. In order to find a way to help people, why don't I take these areas and compare them to the pain that I've been dealing with small business owners, large business owners, people in sales for the last 30 years. Let's have a look at that. So let's compare that to what the last 30 years have shown. So here we go. Number 3 over the last 30 years is, oh, I hate sales. I'm not a salesperson. Brad, please give me the perfect pitch that will sell anything to anybody at any time. And Brad, sales is difficult. Folks, it's the exact same pain that people have been dealing with in the sales arena for hundreds of years. The only difference is that COVID has trodden on the toothpaste tube and it's just forced what was inside out quicker. These sensations that we feel with regards particularly to sales, and still for those people who are struggling with the fact that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, not a salesperson, COVID has trodden on you as a tube of toothpaste and it's forced what was already inside out. It is quite likely that there are people sitting on this call right now who went into a small business because they didn't want to be a salesperson. And yet COVID has forced it out. You're unable to make turnover and you're going, well, it's COVID, it's this, it's that, the next thing. Folks, in the midst of COVID, people have been selling. In the midst of COVID, people have been buying. The tough question, though, is why have they not been buying from you? And as much as I'm dealing with people who are in sales hell right now, there are 2 clients in particular that I'm so super proud of. And if you get onto my YouTube channel, you can see one of the testimonials there. There are 2 clients who have had record-breaking years, year on year, in the 2 years that COVID has been in place. And I'm not going to, yeah, obviously I've been coaching them in their sales. And so I'm going to take a bit of a pat on the back on that. But I've also got to just give credit to those business owners because they pivoted, they kept their eyes on the prize, and they just made sure that they kept the teams motivated and doing what they needed to do. The important thing to know, however, is that both of these companies that have broken sales records were not doing medical or COVID-specific services. They were different industries altogether, but COVID has not slowed them down. I would like to suggest that even if COVID wasn't there, these 2 companies would have broken records. Why? Because what was on the inside was a get up and go attitude that wasn't going to take excuses. Oh, we're faced with a problem, I'm going over the top. I quite literally, and I'm not lying about this, I have spoken to salespeople or folk who, small business owners who said, Brad, we need to get sales going again. And I've said, can I have a look at your schedule? Can I have a look at your diary? And people have said, Brad, I've been collecting support checks. I've literally been playing TV games, sitting on my sofa because no one wants to see us. And I'm just going, well, the issue then is not so much the sales. It's more an attitude-y thing. And once again, I'm not looking to cause offense, but it's interesting that under pressure, one person has hit the sofa and the other one has hit the road, hit the telephone, hit the Zoom calls, and 2x their sales. the person is not lucky. They've just done the right things at the right time. So let's just back up a little bit and get back and nailed out this conversation around entrepreneurs being salespeople, or the need for small businesses and entrepreneurs to be leading the sales activity. Part of the pain that you feel is that when you were at high school or at college getting ready to graduate, if the teacher had stood in front of you and gone around the room and said, okay, Fred, Susie, Johnny, Mary, what do you want to be when you leave school? And people are going, well, I want to be an engineer. I want to be a dentist. I want to be in the medical field. I want to be a teacher. Were any of you putting your hands up going, oh, pick me. I want to be in sales. I want to be in sales. And the reality is, I know of one person that did put their hand up in class saying, I'm going into sales, and you happen to be listening to them present to you this morning. I have never met anybody other than myself that actually wanted a career in sales. And yet, here we are in sales. I'll let that sink in. I'll have a little pause for a second there. You're in sales. How on earth did this happen? Now, a lot of people come back to me and say, well, Brad, sales found me. Or my favorite one is that I kind of fell into sales. And the response that I use the most when people say I fell into sales is, you need to fall out of sales just as quickly if this is causing you so much pain. You see, the moment that you start a small business, the buck stops with you. You are suddenly the CEO. You might be a one-person business, but you're the CEO. And Mark and I spoke about this at great length yesterday. I called him to chew his ear off about some stuff that he said on the call. And the reality is that the buck stops here comes with a number of different meanings. You see, we go into small business to make the buck. And so the buck literally comes to you because you own the business. But by the same token, when you are the business leader, all the problems come to your desk. The buck stops with you. And so if your business is not making sales, guess what? You're not making sales. Could it be that if your business sucks at sales, it's because you suck at sales? Yeah, maybe I was trying to offend you there. But the good news is that sales is a series of deliberate disciplines that anybody can learn, and you can swing this thing around very, very simply, very, very easily. And the fact that you are alive and breathing means that you can sell. And I feel that I can give you something that can really get this business going again. The third part of this conversation that I had with Mark yesterday is the fact that you actually own and you carry with you the hopes and the dreams that you started that business with in the first place. And so even if you have managed to hire one or two people and you've got a sales department, let's say, cousin so-and-so and a friend have come on in to help you out with sales, as the leader of the business, how are you motivating them to do sales if you yourself are uncomfortable doing sales or don't know how to do it? Because once again, you can go to cousin Vinny and say, dude, you're not making sales, you're fired, but it's still your business. It's still your profit that is disappearing down the road. And now you're going to go into hope land where hopefully the sales gods are going to sprinkle some sales dust on your business and you're going to get in a salesperson who's going to hit this thing out the park. Actually, why take a chance like that? Why don't you just up your desire around sales, up your learning and your experience around sales, and get to do it yourself, so that when you do start to hire a sales team, you can say, guys, this is how it is done. And that way, everybody benefits. You see, going into your own business is like this ballerina. And, my wife was a dancer for 22 years and she never did ballet. So it's really interesting that I always use this slide in my presentations, but here is someone who is just highly, highly, highly trained. She is magnificent. She is beautiful. She is strong. I don't know if you've ever tried to go up on tiptoes and go on to point. That takes incredible strength. It takes incredible endurance. It takes incredible timing. You've got to be a person who is really, I was going to say on point. See what I did there? You really need to be in your A game to be able to do this. But this is the picture that we all have in our minds when we start a business. And we see a theater that is full of people that are clapping and applauding because Freddie has started an engineering business or a computer programming business. The reality is that within 10 months or 12 months, and I want to just reiterate Mark's recommendation to have a look at the E-Myth revisited with Mr. Gerber. Many of us start small businesses because we have a single contract in place, and we kind of go, well, that'll see me for the next 10 months to 11 months. All I need to do is bring another 10 of those on, and we're driving a Lamborghini. What we realize, however, is that that ballerina goes through hell to get where she's got. We watch her on stage for 2 hours. We watch her on stage for a couple of minutes, but we don't see the hours of slog in the background. And this is where I can speak with regards to my experience with my wife. The twisted ankles, the broken toes, the bruises, the blisters. We suddenly encounter that in our business. And this picture of this beautiful ballerina on stage is suddenly a fading pipe dream. And we literally are moving from one injury to another if we even survive. And it's the reality in which we face. And this is going to cause some offense, and it's designed to do that. I want you to think about it for a second. But folks, the reality is that you cannot make money and excuses at the same time. You've got to pick one or the other. And right now, I want you to take a minute or two and decide. Am I going to take my small business, learn something and go and make some money and become that ballerina that everybody's paying top dollar to come and watch? Or am I going to embrace excuses and continue to wallow in mediocrity or failure for that matter? And this is a saying, I don't even know where I learned it. I think I kind of picked it up over a couple of years, but you can apply this to pretty much any goal that you want to set in life. Are you making an effort or are you making excuses? And I want to encourage you today, you are not wrong. You literally are not wrong. That picture of that ballerina, that hope and dream, the dollars that you wanted to make in that business, the success and the difference that you wanted to make, I want to tell you, you're not wrong. You can do it. But it means kicking excuses out and finding reasons to build your business and make the sales that you need to make. A brilliant book out there by Jeb Blunt says that easy is the mother of mediocrity. And folks, if you are looking for sales to be easy, your business is always going to be mediocre. Sales were never designed to be, well, did anybody actually design sales? We wonder how this thing evolved, but sales is not easy. For top sales people in the world, still hear the word no 2 times more than they hear the word yes. Top salespeople in the world, according to the Brevet Group, some of Salesforce's research and HubSpot, top salespeople are still only closing 1 out of 3 appointments or 1 out of 3 presentations. That's a 1 in 3 closing rate, which I'm going to tell you is very good, but it means you're hearing the word no more than you're hearing the word yes. By definition, sales is not easy. And so, folks, if you are viewing this as an easy thing, you're going to struggle to rise above mediocrity. And so I want to challenge you, embrace the pain, embrace the difficulty. But the good news is, in the same way that this gentleman is training and he's building muscle and he's building fitness, I want to tell you, you can train and build sales muscle and sales fitness. And you can not just earn a living out of sales, you can earn an incredible living. out of sales. The book, by the way, that this comes from with Jeb Blunt is called Fanatical Prospecting. And it's really worth jumping onto Amazon and getting a copy. It revolutionized the way that I look at sales, not so much sales, at finding people to sell to. Fanatical Prospecting. And so, folks, for many of us, we're not so much tired. We're probably not that inspired. The way to get hired, if you're feeling tired, is to get inspired. And for many of us, there is a reality. We are having COVID fatigue. We are having failure fatigue. We are having negativity fatigue, and you just feel tired. You just want to sleep so that the feelings go away. But the reality is, if you can find that inspiration that got you to start the business in the first place, being hired does become an experience that you have more regularly than you've currently got. I want to share with you today one aspect of sales that is without doubt the number one reason why top salespeople, why top businesses are top businesses. And you're going to get it for nothing in the course of today. For the vast majority of us, I'll get around this. I need more caffeine. For the vast majority of us who are in sales, who are running small businesses, we become so tired that our presentations, our discussions with people are dripping with negativity and depression. We are unimpressive. We are indifferent. We are bored. We are just not turning our client on at all. And we're not getting hired. And it's not because we don't want to. As I said, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, I just want to fail today. Nobody does that. We want to get hired. But we've taken a hit. We've taken a bunch of hits. We might be in a very, very difficult position. As I speak to you, a very good friend of mine is looking for a place to stay because for those of you not from Seattle, our property rates have gone through the roof, but the guy's not making enough money, got to find a new place to stay. He is down. It's not in his head, it's a reality. His rental has gone up so much, he's got to make a move. But he has the choice to come across as tired, or he can get totally inspired so that he gets hired. When it comes to sales, folks, I would like to suggest that the biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now is not the perfect pitch to close anything to anybody at any time. It is not a closing problem. The reason you started this business, the reason you got into business in the first place was because of a passion and an idea that you felt could change the world, that you felt could make you a great income. Closing that, for me, is not the problem. The problem is you have an opening problem. In other words, you are not getting in front of enough clients to close deals in the first place. Now, it's not just a question of filling your schedule. It's a question of opening your telephone calls. It's a question of the opening that you use when you send out your mass emails or when you send out your advertising. It's a question of the opening the doors that you open in a discussion with your client to find out what their needs are so that you can present a proposal that with all the passion and the ideas that you've got is going to close. A lot of people go into businesses and just talk about themselves and about their businesses. They immediately trying to close. They haven't even opened a conversation that finds out what the client's real problem is, why the client agreed to see them in the first place. For a lot of people, they just, really excited because I've got a Zoom call or a presentation, but I've never spent time with the client to find out exactly why is it that they agreed to see me in the first place. Folks, this is not a closing problem. It's an opening problem. And the thing that I'm going to give you today is going to assist you in opening more clients more easy. Now, this is about filling your schedules, what I'm going to give you today. Would it excite you? Would it excite you if I could give you a never-ending pool of prospects and customers who not just want to see you, but they're actually waiting for your call? They literally are waiting for your call. And while they're waiting for you, they are already thinking where they can use you in their business. Folks, this is not a gimmick. This is 100 years of sales experience. People that I've read, stuff that I've been to, things that I've picked up along the way. This will revolutionize your business. There's not a single person that's ever said no to this. In fact, most people turn their heads and give me the side eye and go, yeah, this is going to be some mass email campaign. You're going to automate everything. Folks, no. This is 100 years of sales philosophy that will literally 10x your business if you take it seriously. It's about opening. My question once again is, what is your dream? What is your inspiration? Go back. Mark mentioned it again on, I think it was on Wednesday already. Why did you go into business in the first place? What is your why? Simon Sinek does a lot of talk about finding your compelling why. What is that thing that got you there in the first place, that gets you out of bed, that keeps you up at night? Not because you're under pressure to complete something, but because you're so excited. Not many people know about this lady. Her name is Vilma Rudolph. And I wish, really, it's something I wish I'd had an opportunity just to sit down with this lady and have a chat to her. She was born prematurely in 1940, 4.5 pounds, not the biggest, not the strongest, but she was the 20th of 22 kids. Her mom was a cleaner. Her dad was a worker, just not wealthy. But I'm trying to think how wealthy you've got to be to look after 22 kids in the first place. But added to all of this struggle, she struggled with pneumonia and scarlet fever as a kid. In fact, the fact that she even survived was a bit of a miracle. But she also went into polio, which resulted in infantile paralysis. She lost the use of her legs, specifically her left leg, as a kid. And so she ended up literally like Forrest Gump with huge big calipers on her legs. But her mum, in trying to help her, kept saying to her, what do you want to do? What do you want out of life? And Vilma used to say, I want to run. And the mom didn't discourage her. The mom didn't say, listen, Vilma, I don't know what she called her, but listen, my dear, listen, Vilma, it's nice for you to want that, but it's never going to happen. The mom said, well, dream it, taste it, see it, touch it, imagine it. I want to run. Because of their financial situation, they had to look around to find medical care, and they found a place that was 20 miles away. And it took a couple of buses. It took a lot of walking, but they had to go there twice a week for this medical treatment. And part of the treatment was also massage that Vilma's mum learned and taught some of her older siblings, and they would then come and massage her legs. But for many, many years, she walked not 20 miles, but she did a lot of walking twice a week to go to this doctor to get, to try and get help for this issue of these legs. At 12 years old, she had taken to playing basketball with her friends with her calipers on. And it's interesting because they began to call her the mosquito, because she would be running around the court balancing on these calipers, but she would never give up because she wanted to run. She was now competing, but she was on these calipers, and people would call her the mosquito because she just wouldn't give up. She'd keep on coming, try to steal that ball and make a difference in the game. And something happened at some point. I don't know the story. I suppose if we were going to get romantic about it, she fell and the caliper fell off and her leg was better. All that she began to realize is that strength was returning to that left leg. And so she became quite the ball player. And it was around her 15th or her 16th birthday age that she was playing basketball now without her calipers like any normal person. In fact, if you didn't know her story, you wouldn't know that she had been on calipers up until a couple of months earlier. The athletics coach walked past and said, I need you on my athletics team. And folks, within 2 years, she was competing at the Olympics, where she won bronze in 1956. At the age of 16, and then at the age of 20 in 1960, she became the first African-American woman to win 3 gold medals at the Olympics. And this time they weren't calling her the mosquito, they were calling her the tornado, the black gazelle. She had gone from the mosquito to the tornado, the black gazelle, because she wanted to run. And folk, there are many of you in business who want to run. You wanted to run, that's why you went into the business. I want you to reconnect with that dream, that why you went into business, that thing that just gets your blood going, that just gets your mind excited. Because Lutai said, you are at your most attractive when you are living your dream. And folks, I want you to be living that dream. I want you to be standing up in front of customers so excited about what you do that they're going, I just want a piece of that. But it means we've got to get inspired in order to get hired. And part of that inspiration is understanding that I've got some tools in my hand that can take my dream and get it to people and close deals. I can get hired. From tired, get inspired, and get to hired. Love Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite mentors on the planet. And he said, for every sale you miss because you are too enthusiastic, you will miss 100 because you're not enthusiastic enough. And unfortunately, COVID and the pressures of business have got people so tired, so fatigued out that their enthusiasm has just taken a pounding, and they're battling to get up and get this compelling why, changing other people's lives. So whatever you got to do, start to do it so that you can get excited about your why and get passionate and enthusiastic about the people that you're going to see. Because what I'm going to give you in the next couple of minutes is going to help you to get in front of people who not only want to see you, but they've already started to think about how they can use your business. Folks, this is not hot leads. This is not just names and numbers. This is nuclear hot opportunities because people are already thinking about you and your business. Are we up for this? Yes, please. Let's jump in. So what I have a look at when I train people is what I call the 4 pillars of sales. And I mean, they're all 4 pillars happen at the same time. I'm just going to start in order at the bottom left because I'm Brad. Why start at the top left when you can start at the bottom left and move anti-clockwise? So first of all, we've got to get our attitude right. And that's been a lot of what I've discussed this morning. And I'll go into this in a lot of depth on the 4 pillars of sales course, but it's our mindset. Once my mind is set, it impacts the way that I behave. And if my mind is set that COVID has killed my business, that business is too hard, that I'm not a salesperson, that's going to impact the way I behave. But I want to tell you that it's as simple as a decision to find out how I can be better at sales, to find out how my business can impact the planet so that I can go out there and make more sales. Let's get it right. Planning in the agenda is really around 2 things. Number 1, it's goal setting for life. What is your why? What do you want to achieve? And then it's what do I do on a daily basis to get towards that? It is absolutely amazing to me how many people in this day and age with Outlook and with all the digital stuff that we have at our disposal cannot run a daily schedule. It is absolutely mind-blowing to me that people are sitting at 11 o'clock, 11:30, 11:45, and even the early hours of the morning sending emails to people because they haven't got through what they need to get through in the course of the day. And it's not about having too much work. It's about not having, well, let's sing from Mark's hymn sheet here. It's because you do not have systems in place that you are following to help you to cope with the amount of work efficaciously so that you can run a successful business and enjoy the benefits with your family after hours, that you're not having to sit up at 2 a.m. in the morning to do stuff. What I'm going to share with you today goes into the top right-hand side, which is the ability. Folks, what I'm going to give you today, anyone can do. Anyone can do. You don't need to go and get steroids. You don't need to take certain things. You don't need to change your personality. I'm going to give you something so practical in the next couple of minutes that this afternoon, you're not just going to be able to go and do this, you're going to want to go and do it because it really is that simple. But it's an ability that you can learn. Forget about whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. It doesn't matter. You can do this. I can do this. Believe me, you can do this. And then the top left-hand side, and the reason why I did this, there was a whole lot of logic going on at the time, but it is the most important. It's actually doing it. We can study, we can pick up things, we can listen to motivational speakers, we can do all of this kind of stuff. We've actually got to go out and do it. I often ask people, if there are 3 frogs on a lotus leaf, and one decides one decides to jump off, how many frogs are left? Everybody goes 2, 2, 2, and the answer is no, because he decided to jump. He didn't actually jump. So there's still 3. There's only 2 when he actually does jump. And so I'm going to give you the stuff today. Go and use it. You can do it. So folks, sales is really a defined set of deliberate disciplines that we do over and over again. And once again, that anyone can do. But they are defined, they are deliberate, and they're disciplined. I do them over and over and over again. And sales is the fruit. And what I want to do is open the door to you today to a very, very simple process that's going to get you clients who are waiting for you to call, so that you can go in and get passionate about what you do, the reasons why you started the business in the first place, because when that passion starts to overflow, people are going to eat out of the palm of your hand, and they're going to want what you want. And it's not manipulative. I hate manipulative sales. I hate bullies who are trying to sell. This is about selling the service, the idea and the passion that you started the business for in the first place. This literally is about changing the world. And folks, I'm talking about referral business. Oh, Brad, we were hoping for something new. The reality is referral business remains the best business in the world. On my website, you can go and have a look at a blog that says move over show business. There is no business like referral business. Word of mouth. Every single person who has rolled their eyes or been slightly disappointed when I tell you the secret I'm giving you today is referral business, you have all bought stuff that you might be wearing, drinking, eating. You might be going to restaurants or doing things because someone told you about it. Referral business is the best business in the world. Let's have a look at some stats. If we have a look in this wonderful digital world that we're in, people are doing massive email campaigns and massive online technical stuff, 100,000 emails. And when I talk about deals, I'm not talking about people calling back saying, I'd like more information. I'm talking about closed deals. The stats that are coming off the Brevet Group and others at this stage are suggesting that 100,000 emails will get you about 10 deals, which gives you a closing rate of 0.01%. Now, I'm not saying don't do emails, people, because I will take that 0.01% sale. I'm just saying the time and the effort could be spent better somewhere else. I think it's probably a combination of all of these. If you go and make a couple of glossies and hand them out at the traffic light, you will end up doing 4 deals, which is a closing ratio of a little bit under 1%. But I'll round it off to 1%. Me and math, Folks, if you take 10 cold calls, and I'm not talking about someone who is trained to do cold calls. This is people generally in the cold calling industry where I've just got a name and a number, are still closing around 1 deal, which is a closing ratio of 10%. Now, that on its own should already start to go, wow, should I actually be cold calling as opposed to designing emails and then automating 100,000 of them, because I'm getting a 10% closing ratio. Folks, this is not my numbers. This is definitely from the Brevet Group, from HubSpot and Spotio.com. Go and have a look at these things. These ratios come through and are borne out there. And yet cold calling, even for top businessmen, drives them, or whoever top businessmen, top salespeople, it causes their blood to run cold. I'm going to tell you as a person, a lifelong salesperson, as a sales trainer, I still get the sweats, I still get the shakes as I sit down to make my calls. It is not easy, but I've got to tell you that if you use what I give you today, it becomes a lot easier, because folks, referral business is closing at around about 60%. 5 referrals done the right way will result in 3 deals. Guys, it's not 5 referrals are going to result in 3 appointments that will result in 2 proposals that will result in 1 deal. No, 5 referrals done properly, is the average is closing 3 deals. That's a 60% closing. And all I'm going to say is, what would you prefer? a 0.01% closing rate or a 60% closing rate. I'm talking about a system that gets you past the gatekeeper, the secretary, the reception. I'm talking about a system that has got your client waiting for you to call. They've actually started to think about a solution that you can help them with. This is a beautiful way of doing business. January, February, March this year, I sat on a return of 100%, 12 for 12, 12 referrals, 12 calls, 12 appointments. Now, it's not always like that, okay? It was a great start to 2022, and I was just going, woo, we're getting out of COVID, things are starting to move. It's not always like that. But as a one-man business doing referrals, it's the way I do business, and my closing rate is very, very high. This comes from the Brevet Group, and it says that 91% of customers say that they would gladly give referrals. Gladly give referrals. Not just they give referrals, they would gladly give referrals. But only 11% of salespeople ever ask. And I understand why. It's because we're so excited to sell our widget or sell our wares that we just want to get out there. The dopamine is going berserk in our heads. We understand why we went into sales in the first place. We forget about asking for referrals. I want to suggest, folks, that the best place for new business is new business. There is no better time to ask referrals than when you just closed the deal. But the methodology I'm going to give you today, you can ask for referrals anytime, anywhere. Whether it's a client relationship phone call, whether it's a sales call, whether you're meeting someone at the golf course, you can put what I'm going to give you to work and you will get sales referrals out of it. Salespeople who actively seek out and exploit referrals, and when I say exploit, I mean them in the nicest possible way. I'm not talking about hurting people, but actually using the referrals, they will earn 4 to 5 times more than those people who don't. And so there's a very simple question out there. Would you like your sales to increase 4 or 5 times or not? And if you don't, no judgment, your call. But if you want to, I'm going to show you how you can do that. Go and check it out on the brevetgroup.com. They've got these details there. So I'm going to give you 5 steps and then we're done. We've got another maybe 10 minutes. Although, given half an opportunity, I could turn this into 10 days. But I'm going to give you another 10 minutes and I'm going to give you my methodology when asking for referrals. So the first place that we need to start is just get in your head that you are a salesperson. Just clear it. Make peace with the fact, yes, I'm a small business owner, but I am good at sales. And just tell yourself that I'm great at sales. It's called an affirmation. And the more you say it, the more you believe it. The more you believe it, the more you're going to act like that. I am a natural salesperson. I am a great closer. I am a great referral getter. But start there and then follow the number 1 rule in getting referrals, which is to ask for them. We have not because we ask not. There's a book out there that says we have not because we ask not. And folks, I'd like to suggest that even if you ask for referrals poorly, you're still going to get some. The point is we don't ask. I'm going to give you a methodology of asking that is going to just put you in the driver's seat. So here we go. Step number 1 in asking for referrals, and let's just assume this is at the end of your conversation, but as I said, it could be a client contact call, it could be a client relationship call. Whatever reason that someone has seen you, you're going to start off by thanking them for seeing you. Thank you for the business. Mr. Client, thank you so much for giving me this business. It means a lot to the company, but personally, I really appreciate the fact that you've placed your faith in me and just really grateful for that. Easy peasy. Thank you. Okay, number 2. And the big number 2 there is not number 2. Well, it is number 2, but I want you to then say to the client, so thank you very much for doing business. May I ask, what are the top 2 reasons why you gave me the business in the first place? Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, what has stuck out about our service or about our interaction? What are the 2 top things that have come out? And folks, this is where you need to listen very, very carefully. And they might say things like the price was right. I would prefer to not just have price, but price is important these days. But they might say things like, you know, you turned up on time. You delivered what you said you would deliver, and then you went beyond that. I love the fact that you added X, Y, and Z into the deal. You know, one of my companies is an excavation company, and they pride themselves in leaving the excavation looking exactly the same as it was prior to doing the work in the garden. They fix everything and put it back 100%, and people appreciate it. So thank you for the business, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client. It really means a lot to me. May I ask you, what are the top 2 reasons why you went with my business? And then you remember what they say to you. At this point, I'm going to ask them to help me. Now, there is a psychological term known as reciprocity, and you need a fair amount of caffeine to say that. But when someone feels like you've helped them, it is a natural thing for them to want to help you. And by just telling someone how important it was that you got their business and what were the 2 reasons why you used us, the person is thinking about how you've helped them, and there's a natural desire to help you. And so I would say, Mr. Client, please, may I ask you to help me? Help me build my business. I say to people that, we all understand how frustrating it is to get unsolicited sales and marketing calls. And so I would like to ask you to please refer me to some people that would benefit the same way that you benefited in our interaction. I would then ask, would you mind providing me with 3 or 4 contacts that I can call? Now, folks, I always go for 3 or 4, maximum 5. I don't like to go for more than that, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is you want the best that person has got. When someone says, I'm going to go through my phone and I'll find contacts and I'll send you 100 names, they're just 100 names and numbers. Guys, you can buy lists like that. You can open the phone book and get that. You want the best that this person has got. So just aim for the top 2 or 3. As you build relationship with this person, you're going to have this conversation with them many, many times. Go back at 3 or 4 months and get the next 3. Then the next 3, because they're going to be doing business. They're going to be bringing new people on board. So, Mr. or Mrs. Client, please may I ask you to help me build my business, help me build my exposure, and you use the language that you heard in that second point. I'm wanting to help companies who want their gardens, who've got a need for excavation, but need the gardens put back the way that they were found. I'm going to ask you if you'd mind sharing people that I can call that would benefit from that. I'm looking for companies that need systems enhancement on the computer side of things, or even on the logistical side of things. The work that I've done for you, I'm going to ask you to refer me to people who would benefit from that interaction. Now, folks, you could actually stop here and let them give you a couple of names and numbers. I'm going to ask you to go 2 steps deeper. The first one is to be very specific about what you're looking for. Now, I've determined in my life who are my ideal clients. So I love to speak to business owners. So I'm going to say, Fred, John, Susie, who are other business owners that you know that I can go to? So immediately, instead of the person just thinking name and number, they're now thinking very, very specific. Oh, you know what? The guy down the road is doing this, or one of my big clients is doing that. They're business owners. So I'm looking for business owners all the time. I'm always looking for sales managers, sales directors, and sales people. So I will ask 4 questions. Who are business owners that you know that will benefit from the stuff we spoke about in number 2? Do you know any sales people that would benefit from connecting? Sales managers, sales directors. You should walk away with 4 names and numbers if you've done this correctly. So number 1, thank you so much for the business, for trusting us. It means a great deal to the business, but just personally, it means a great deal to me that you trusted me in this area. May I ask, what were the 2 reasons why you went with me? What have I done that you felt was worth spending this money on? Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. Please, can I ask you to help me build my business? We hate getting unsolicited phone calls, so I'm going to ask if you would mind referring me to other small business owners that would benefit from our service. Do you know any sales directors that I could speak to regarding this? Do you know any sales people that would benefit from the time? It's similar to what you and I went through. Folks, we're talking about 90 seconds here. We're talking maybe 2 minutes. And you should walk away with 3 or 4 names and numbers. My commitment is always to follow up with people. So if I get a referral, just to let somebody know, I reached out to the referral, I did A, B, and C, we're meeting on this date. I walk them through the process. But I want to give you a steroid, if you're interested, that's going to turn this thing upside down. Mr. or Mrs. Client, I deeply value these 4 names and numbers. Understand, I'm going to treat them with the love and respect that you've had. I'm going to treat these people with as well. I'm going to give you their feedback. May I ask one last favor? And folks, this is an absolute steroid that will take you into the stratosphere in terms of sales. Mr. Client, I have an email template with me. Please, can I send it to you? Would you mind filling in your details and sending it off to these people and CCing me in the bar? And here's the email. Oh, there's my steroid. Here's the email. So let's just say Fred has recommended you to Johnny. Hi, Johnny. Just a quick email to give you a heads up. I recently used Brad Thomson for work with sales training. I was super excited by the way he was so good looking, athletic. No, okay. I was super excited by the way that he dealt with our problems, gave us practical skills to increase sales, and did A, B, and C. I immediately thought you'd benefit from meeting with them. They will pop you a call in the next few days. Please let me know how things would go. Best regards, Freddie Krueger. And folks, no one has ever said they won't do this. It's a template. It's on my computer. I quickly pop it through. They fill in those couple of lines and they send it off there and then, and I'm CC'd in the bar. This means I know the moment that email has gone off, it means that I can then phone my clients, and that phone call is a very, very, maybe not necessarily easy, but it's a smooth phone call. Number one, you're getting right through the gatekeeper very, very easily by just saying, I'm wanting to speak to Johnny based on a referral from Freddie Krueger down the road. He's expecting my call. You're not lying. He's expecting the call. Number one, it gets you. Number two, you don't have to do any sales on the telephone. You don't have to try and convince anybody of anything, because the moment that this guy or gal got this email, they're going, wow, this meant so much to Freddie. How can it help me? And they're immediately thinking about their sales team, their underperformers, their problems, their goals, their targets. By the time this call comes through, they're going, really, you're looking at a 30-second call here that's just to set up an appointment. They're wanting to see you. Hardly anyone says no to this. In all honesty, folks, when it comes to calling out, my call ratio is so high, but I use the system. And it's deliberate, it is defined, and I just do it all the time. So there we go, folks, the 5 steps. Number one, thank you for giving me the business. Number two, what are the 2 critical points why you did business with me? Number 3, please, will you help me build my business? Number 4, can I specifically ask you for the following people? Who do you know that's done this? Who do you know has done that? Number 5, would you mind sending them this template? Just fill in these areas. We can do it in the next 2 minutes. Does that sound doable? Folks, I want to tell you it works. It's working with the companies I've worked with. And if you put this into practice after every single sales call, after every client relationship call, you will never have to spend money on prospecting again. Because you're getting, for every meeting that you're having, for every interaction you're having, you're walking away with 4 to 5 new names of people who are thinking about wanting to talk to you. And so I want to give this to you, folks, because it has turned my business around, and it has turned many, many of my clients' businesses around, and it's something that you can use today. Finally, in closing, I want to suggest, listen to your language, change your language. Success and successful people are always training. Failures are always complaining. Folks, I've given you the tools. It's in your hands. I want to tell you, it has turned my clients around from one-man businesses, small businesses, right through to corporates. This is something that can really transform your business, but it means you've got to take it on board. You've got to get fit. You've got to train. But if you're complaining, you can turn your life around by focusing on this kind of activity and making some money. I want to wish you the best of luck going forward. It's been awesome chatting to you again. Mark, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share my wares and to be a part of this incredible intervention. Folk, please reach out to me at bradthomsoncoaching.com. You can have a look at the 4 pillars of sales.com, and you can get hold of me at bradthomsoncoaching.com as well if you want to squeeze off an email. It'd be great to connect. Thank you so much. Have a great day.